You couldn't beat that. All black, everything, shorts, boxing boot. Yeah, just basically the Tyson look. That's all it is. Anything that's all black is. Again, if we want to move over to something else, it's funny because both guys have even said it to let you know that they were, one wasn't, copying off, Goldberg said he loved Tyson. That's why he went all black. Austin says he loved Tyson. He was a Tyson guy. He was a boxing guy. That's why he went all black. And it makes sense. Black trunks, black boots.
It does.
That's what they loved. They said they loved Tyson. And that's crazy. So.
But since he was from Texas, he still had to wear jean shorts, right?
Oh.
And something leather?
Nah, maybe.
Had to be the rattlesnake?
Excuse me. Yeah. But no. Oh, but when it was time though, he was in all black. But yeah, they both said it. Goldberg said it on his recent A&E bio. And then I've seen Austin say it in an interview as well. Because they always want to know why he went to that. And they both mentioned Tyson, which I think is pretty cool. He said he was like when they were doing the WrestleMania 14 lead up with Michaels and all that, he said he was beside himself. Even though he still did what he had to do and played his character.
Yeah.
With, against Tyson and all his, high profile. I always think about that one guy that's what Mayweather now, the guy with the glasses, and all that. He said loved it. He said because he was such a fan of Tyson. He said that was one of the best things ever.
I wonder sometimes I think back on those times and I always thought WWE was a better product.
I can agree with that.
But all my friends were watching WCW. Is that weird? Do you remember those days?
Well, yeah. But no. When that's because literally their quote was where the big boys play. That's where they went. Big boys weren't in WWE. I'm gonna say F. They weren't there. They went over there.
Yeah.
I was never part of one. I had heard over the whole United States, boys were throwing nitro parties like crazy every Monday night.
They were.
Nitro parties.
Yep.
WWF wasn't throwing no Raw parties. Because, and it made the demographic is because they caught onto it well. Vince was behind, but he even said it's been documented. He said, we need to catch up. We have to catch up with the times. That's where the Attitude Era came from. They got edgier. WCW was like Nash and Hall and all that. That's why they were wearing rags and all that. They listened to Tupac, all that, West Coast stuff. He said, we need to go ahead and implement this stuff into our show and into our product because that's what's going on anyway in society. We listen to it. Why hide what we really do? Let's bring it onto the television.
It's fair.
And there you go. So more real doesn't mean it's best for business, but more real will attract a lot of people.
It's funny.
I'm gonna say more real, however you want to say it. That's what they did. I think that's why. And their demographic was 18 to 35, 42, whatever. They were killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally meant what they said, where the big boys play, because that's where they were. There was a bunch of, I'm not going to say jokers because, I love both products. It's the same guys to me, either company. They just weren't there yet. People just weren't, they were tired of looking at, I'm sorry, just boys that just want to look at Shawn. They didn't want to look at Shawn Michaels. And you can only look at so much Undertaker, and they didn't have anybody else to really give them that grit until Stone Cold came. He gave them that grit. But it's funny because people want to crap on not now, because people like us, nostalgia people, memorabilia people, the nation really kind of gave WWE its a little bit of edge. Because you got to think, prior to the nation and The Rock finding his personality with him getting hurt, WWE didn't have any of that going on. Nation comes, and like you say, you always said you hated, you didn't like all these groups, but all those groups kind of get factions.
Say it right.
Yes, because Vince, he doesn't like the word
gang.
Yes,
he don't like gangs. They're factions.
It gave people a person. It gave people a connection, somebody to latch onto. Oh, well, I like this group or whatever. I didn't like the Rock prior to Nation. And that's just point. I'm one of the biggest. Well, definitely.
I didn't like the Rock in the Nation.
See, I love the Rock in the Nation.
I hated the Rock in the Nation. I liked him outside of the Nation. But you know what?
Before or after?
Giant Ron Simmons fan. All my life. I've always loved Ron Simmons.
There you go. And that's funny because
Ron Simmons and Dr. Death back in UWF days. That's how old school I am when it comes to wrestling. They were two of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They gave Ron. That's what I'm saying. Ron. Well, today to definitely big fans like us. At that point in time, you go back. Ron doesn't get his due on what he helped make at that time. Doesn't matter if he was getting booed or cheered. He was getting booed, but what he helped facilitate at that time with helping The Rock taking a back seat, him a major star, major pro star, and this guy is one of the baddest men walking around in these buildings, taking a back seat to a young guy to help make him. Because that's what he did. He took a back seat to him, but helping getting these group of guys who didn't have a personality like AKA Papa Shango, Kama, whatever you want to call him, Mustafa, you get D'Lo, you even bring in Mark Henry, Crush for a little bit, Ahmed Johnson, however you want to look at that, but didn't work out.
Ahmed Johnson didn't count. He tried.
No, it didn't count. No, he didn't.
Tried to chase Ron out of the building like he was.
Yeah, he didn't. So gave those guys a personality, put them in a group. Now they're getting heat. Now they're getting notoriety.
So Ernie Ladd, was he ever the NWA champion?
I don't know. We can find out.
Was Bobo?
Yes. Has to be.
Was Rocky Johnson? I've heard people say in the past that Ron Simmons was the first ever black NWA champion.
No, and they counted that. No.
Okay.
No.
Was it black WCW champion?
That's how they categorize. He's not. That's how they always say that, and that's what he's still recognized today. But no, I told you who it was. It's that guy in Iceman.
Ice Train. Stop it. It's Ice Train.
No. the Iceman.
No, it's the Ice Train. You're getting mad. You should show a picture of Ice Train just for fun, by the way.
I can definitely do that.
Ice Train was big, though, man. That dude was. He was a big dude.
Yeah, he was. Let's share that and bring that up. He reminds me of a guy. It's funny.
Look at those traps. They should have called him Trap Man.
Him and Scott Norton, a deadly
Fire
group.
and Ice. Fire and Ice.
Deadly group. And it's funny, there's a guy there now in AEW. I love him. I'm going to show you. Love this guy.
Hobbs and Shaw, good movie.
Oh, no. He reminds me of Ice Train. Love this dude. Love him.
They're built like Stevie Ray a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're a little bit like Stevie Ray. Their chest is short.
Yeah.
Yeah, and big.
But wide though. But
yes, wide.
I love it because he wears like the Heat. He wears the Harlem Heat stuff. It has to be a homage to him. I mean, I love Bob.
I was thinking in the car the other day. I know the people who are synonymous with WWE, and I heard on the Conrad podcast they said that Vince McMahon's single greatest invention was the Undertaker. I'd like to hear your words on that.
I agree.
His greatest invention was the Undertaker, not the WWF, not Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan already existed. He had fame from AWA coming into the Rocky movie, so he didn't build him.
No, Undertaker.
And he protected that investment for 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, he still has because he signed him to a contract.
30 years he protected that investment.
10 more years? Last year he signed him to a 10-year contract. Yeah, so he's not letting that character go anywhere. Not Mark Callis, but the character Undertaker's not going anywhere.
And a lot of people don't understand just how much he had to change his style to be like a zombie wrestler.
His style was so different. Like you go back and watch WCW. Like for me, it's looking at WCW, but I know even before that, and I'm like, wow, like night and day, not the same guy at all. I mean, he was trying to find himself.
Heart punch.
Yeah, and he actually did that as Undertaker. Yeah. He actually did that. But like night and day.
Do you ever feel cheated that with the invasion that we were robbed of Sting versus Undertaker, Goldberg versus Austin, and maybe the Outsiders versus the New Age Outlaws?
Yeah, I want to say that, but I want to say mainly because of money, not with Sting, but with the other guys because of the contract dispute, and they sit home and get their money. Yes, that's what stopped that, because by the time those guys were coming back in, it just wasn't going to happen. I know Austin and Hogan was talked about.
Yeah. Austin wasn't laying down for Hogan, though.
No, he wasn't, and Hogan wasn't laying down for him, so you just didn't know which way to go.
You think about as much crap as he gets, but as much business as Shawn Michaels really is, he was willing to lay down for Hogan if they laid down for each other. Austin wasn't doing that.
It's just funny. I mean, at this point in time, when he laid down for Hogan, though, did it really matter at that time? Like, to me, it matters in heyday times.
Right.
And even when it wasn't even heyday time at WrestleMania, but you got to think, Hogan laid down for The Rock, though. And we're talking about the same WrestleMania, because it was considered to be
17?
About 18. It was talked about being, Austin got the Hall match, which he didn't want. He wanted Hogan. So I'm like, okay, something else has got to be between the lines here, because Hogan went out there and laid down for The Rock, but you guys also talked about Austin and Hogan. But you got Stone Cold, so clearly there was a problem. I mean, he got Hall, so clearly there's a problem somewhere.
As big as the match was, so the big match would have been Hall and Nash against the New Age Outlaws, because the New Age Outlaws were more over than people remember. But the better match
were, but not in 2003.
Oh, we're talking about 2000 when they folded.
Oh, okay. Are we talking about
not the NWO invasion? I'm talking about when WCW was bought.
No, I know the invasion that they screwed up. It could have been a lot better.
Yeah, but
you got to think those guys took big tickets to stay home, though.
Mm-hmm. But the better match would have been the Outsiders against Kane and Mankind, right? When they were a team, it matches up better. Could you? I'd like to know, did Nash and Kane ever share a ring? Huh? Kane and Undertaker?
It could have been Kane. I mean, it could have been any.
Yeah, but you got to put Undertaker Sting on that mega card, right?
That was the match to be made.
Austin Goldberg.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Undertaker against Sting.
Yep.
DDP against The Rock. As much as everybody doesn't want to hear it, that's the two people's champs. I don't care what anybody tells me.
I agree. As much as DDP with him ran the right way, because they completely screwed him over when he got there.
They pooped on the character. They didn't want a different people's champ, but that was the two people's champ.
The most over character around. Yeah. So yes, the right way. DDP, WCW DDP.
Yep.
In the people's champ. So yeah, not that other DDP, but yeah, go ahead.
Right. And then the question would be, do you do Kane and Mankind, or do you do the New Age Outlaws against? So I do New Age Outlaws against Harlem.
New Age Outlaws. That's what I would do.
I do New Age Outlaws against Harlem Heat, and then I would go Kane and Mankind against the Outsiders.
Stevie Ray never came, though. So I don't even know if we can have this conversation, because Stevie Ray just never came. I don't even think they tried to hire him, because he would have came. I don't think they tried to hire him.
I don't think they had interest.
I think they just wanted Booker T.
Yeah.
He knew he was a star, and they just wanted Booker T. Now, who does Booker T get? Done right without him getting screwed over the first couple of years, because they surely did that for a while. Took all his belts, everything, because he came over with like 2 belts. So who does he get?
Well, they ended up doing Booker with Angle, which turned out to be an okay match, right? A 3-way with Booker, Angle, and somebody, right?
I know Booker lost. I know he lost to the Rockets. He lost to the Rock. I don't know if something he lost to the Rock.
wasn't the actual Invasion pay-per-view, wasn't it Booker, Stone Cold, and Angle in the ring?
Oh, I could not tell you about the Invasion.
I think it is. But Booker and Angle wouldn't have been a bad match. They could have put on a show.
They could have, but I don't see Angle. I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Angle. I mean, I can't argue, but I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, he definitely could have put on a show. I just don't know who else he could have matched up that maybe RVD or somebody like that
against Booker.
Yeah,
the match was always RVD.
You know, well, I can't even say RVD because he wasn't WWE product either, really. So
it's not fair to RVD because no one was doing RVD stuff at the time.
Nobody.
And I'm not pooping on anybody.
No,
I'm just saying no one did what he did. The Hardys did, but they were 5'0" nothing. And RVD's 6 foot tall, so he looked bigger on TV. I heard Bruce say on the podcast, he was like, everybody thought Mike Austin was huge. He was huge for ECW, but he's only 6'2".
Really?
Mike Austin was not that big, and when he got there, they were like, "What are we gonna do? You're not." So they made him the Fat Chick Magnet or whatever the heck his name was.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and Mike Austin looked monstrous on TV, didn't he?
He did. Huge.
Big. And from the same neighborhood down there with Hogan and all those guys, and just never got over.
Wow.
They made him that 70s guy, remember?
Yes.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Buried.
That's right. Sure did. Forgot about that. Yikes.
I don't know who you put Angle in there with. That Angle's kind of a wild card for me because he really only matches up against other WWE guys at the time.
True. Yep. He's already working.
Yeah. Short of like working a Lesnar or a Cena, it's hard to imagine.
Oh, I tell you, easy, which they did. Chris Benoit.
Are you allowed to say that name on TV?
I didn't say. I said Chris Benoit, like P-E-N. Yes. So yes, that's it. There you go. That's easy. Done.
Yeah. I guess that's the only other person I can think of.
Done.
But he's kind of a wild card. It's hard to match him up with anybody. But I still think if you do it right,
Jeff Jarrett is back. Do you give him the Booker T since Jeff Jarrett is back in the WWF? Because remember, he was WCW, but he was back prior to Owen dying. So, or passing away, his accident, unfortunately. But he was back. Remember, he shaved his hair. Remember?
Yeah.
He was all that champion, laying down, doing all that crazy stuff with Vince Russo. Then he left and went back. He shaved his hair down to a buzz cut. So, since he's back to being a WWE product, which he was prior to WCW, do you just give him the Booker T because they were the ones having the matches anyway for that belt?
I think somehow you find an era where you can put Kennedy and Jeff Jarrett in the same ring, and it's gonna be a good match because they're the same character.
It is the same character.
It's the same guy.
It is, but give me Jeff Jarrett all day though over that one.
No, don't say that. I like Kennedy. He seems like an okay guy.
I didn't. Just give me Jeff Jarrett.
I didn't like him when he was out there, but I liked him. I like him now. I like him.
Well, you start to become and like the guys who are gone and realize, you know what, they were all right.
Yeah.
You basically you start to respect them. I mean, clearly, like we all do, we respect them for what they did. We didn't not their characters because we didn't like their characters because we probably liked somebody else, but for what they were doing out there, they did their job. Yeah.
Shane Helms.
Basically.
I hated his character, but I liked listening to him.
But he did his job.
Yep, he seems like an okay dude.
I mean, he got a rub. I mean, he got a win over the Rock. What else can you say?
Can't hate Shane Helms.
No. Who else major that we met that could have a? That's about it.
Well,
I guess Lex Luger, WCW, Lex Luger. Who else? Oh, yikes! That's a good question. Lex Luger from the NWO, from
NWO black and red.
Yes, who because he's not really a WWF product. He would have been coming over because he didn't. I mean, clearly he just never came because I don't know if he had that contract. He probably had that contract too.
Yeah, he had the stay home contract.
Okay.
I think they said like he had $375 a year, show or not. So he had a downside guarantee.
Right, like the rest of them, but he just never came because clearly other things happened.
And
who do you give him
wasn't
to?
interested in an offer.
Oh, I can see that. Who I give him to? You know what's funny? I give him to Mankind as a singles wrestler. Two totally opposite people. Luger, big body, nice physique. He's all it's Luger. Everybody knows who Lex Luger is. And you got Mick Foley. Makes sense, don't it? You got Luger and you got Mick Foley. It's probably going to be a shit of a match. But guess what? The match has to be not a wrestling match. It can't be a wrestling match.
I think you give him to Randy Orton at the time because Randy Orton was young.
No, it's 2002.
I thought Randy Orton came around.
You said we're running at 2000 right after he takes WCW and they all come. So
is that the year that Orton showed up was 2002?
No, they're all 2002 products. Cena, Orton, Batista, and Lesnar are 2002.
Okay, that's fair. So then who do we?
But you're right though. But no.
Okay. Hey, no. You give him to Triple H. That's right there for you. That's a perfect match. That's right there. Because Triple H can sell like nobody as much as everybody hates him.
Wait. What's the year he won a Royal Rumble and came back from the big injury? Was it 2000?
No, it was a couple years later.
It was 2002.
I think it was. Cena and them were all debuting.
It can't be Triple H then. It can't be.
He was a European champion, man. You know who I'd like to see though is a prime British Bulldog against Lex Luger. That'd be fun. It'd be terrible because neither one of them can wrestle.
No.
Davey Boy could never. People will say he can go. He wasn't the talent on that team. You know that he was the power.
Out of the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Davey Boy sold, but he wasn't a good wrestler.
Oh no, it was Dynamite.
I heard him talking the other day about how the Road Warrior pop was the loudest noise anyone had ever heard in the world. And I was thinking back.
No, I heard it was another one. They said that it was another one I was reading just this past week. They were talking about Austin pop, and then they were saying somebody else would come out and was leaving louder than Austin's. I don't know if it was like Jim Ross or somebody. Something weird, crazy. They were like, you thought Austin's was loud.
I've never heard anything louder than the glass breaking, ever.
Oh, I've heard.
Even at other people's houses, people will get hype over that right there, popping. There was a pop inside people's homes.
Oh.
For Austin. My buddy Chuck's, even as his wife was like, she would like freak out when Austin would come out. I'd be like, what the heck? But okay.
Good times though. I know I hated it too. Rock was like 1 in 10 against Austin. So was Undertaker. They all were.
Yep. Austin beat up everybody.
He said it only made sense for his character.
It did.
I mean, hey, you know what? That's the same thing to me is it's not going to work for me, brother. It's the same thing to me.
But right? It's okay. It's okay for Austin to do it, but everybody else is a piece of crap for doing it.
You're right, because this is not what we're here for, but you're right. There's some things that he has and has for his way, which he has talked about and said that he wished he would have done and didn't do business right and blah, blah, blah. So he has repented, kind of like Eric Bischoff and a lot of other guys. But you're right. There's a lot of things. You're right. And people, he gets a pass. Austin gets a pass on a lot of things.
He does.
And a lot of people are.
He gets a pass on a lot of things that Shawn doesn't. Very similar. Very similar. I know you want to hate on Shawn, but
no, I'm not. Oh, you mean like walking? You're right. It's the same thing. He walked on Lesnar. You know what though? I'm not knocking. If I'm the man, I'm walking too. I don't mind walking into my job Monday night. Now look, that's fine. If you're a wrestling guy, you know who's coming. That's what they say. They say these guys know who's coming. I don't care. I walk in, I see this young guy, big. I know he's coming. Don't care. I'm not walking in on Monday night. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then creator comes and tell me, like, well, tonight you're getting ready to, he's going to go over. Yeah, no, he didn't have a strap, but he's getting ready to go over you. And they wanted a squash match. See, no, not happening. Not happening. Nope. So now walking, that's extreme. He walked, literally. That's where they came up with the get the F out, take your ball home. That's where that whole little tirade came from, was Austin walking. And he said he wished he would have never done it. But it's like, did he overreact or did he, though? In that situation, you're the man. You made this company millions and millions of dollars, and you walk in one night and they say, you're going down in a squash match to this guy because he's the next thing.
Okay. And I recognize what you're saying, and I'm on board. And I like how Austin's very frank with the crowd in his podcast. He keeps it as real as he can.
He does.
He does. I think he does a good job of that. I think he got away with burying Jeff Jarrett to the point that it is Shawn Michaels level, but he eats no crap for it. Over an old grudge, he buried him, so he lost the Intercontinental strap to a woman.
Oh, the check thing, right?
He buried him. He buried him because of his dad, and he gets a pass, whereas Shawn eats crap across the board for less. And I don't know that I agree with that. Shawn protected the brand, but you never heard him coming to bat and being like, nah, X-Pac ain't losing to this guy, or nah, Triple H ain't losing to him. He didn't do that. He was like, no, Diesel's your biggest guy. Razor's your number 3. I get where Shawn was coming from protecting the brand, whereas Austin gets a pass for burying Jeff Jarrett. Buried. Not even a little.
Well, he buried him because Jeff Jarrett was like, well, I'm getting my check anyway. It was a whole check thing, right? Well, Jeff Jarrett got his check. He said, I got my check. So, I mean.
But, okay, is that the answer, or is that how you deal with it? Let's be honest.
We're talking about a cutthroat business, though.
True. True. But it's not cutthroat when we talk about Shawn.
Oh, it is cutthroat.
Okay.
But I just don't know what he was. I just don't know what they were doing. I mean, I really don't.
Sean eats a lot of crap for telling Diesel not to do the job to Willett, right? To Pierre.
Yes.
And
in Canada, he's over.
Okay. He's over in Canada. But does that help the brand when you get back to the States?
No.
How many days?
We're in the mid 90s. The internet is not buzzing, and people are not going to know. Like, we're not coming home. It's not like we drove to Canada and came home and be like, man, we're about to tell everybody that Diesel just lost to Pierre Roulette. It's not like that's about to happen. Well, unless you got Dave Meltzer there, he's writing on his little weird.
You're going to be in every magazine.
Well, yeah, Dave Meltzer's dirt sheets. Terrible.
I'm just saying, is that any worse than what he did to Jarrett? It's not. And he's going to get a pass for it.
Well,
Hogan gets a pass. Hogan, maybe not today, but for a long time. Hogan got a "that don't work for me, brother" for how many years?
I've heard him say that more in WCW instances than Vince McMahon instances. Haven't you?
Yeah.
And you know what? But guess what? In WCW, I can see that. That don't work for me. I'd probably be like that too. I'm like, yeah, that don't work for me. You got to think you're in the land of, like,
I hear that.
Ain't nobody working. They don't want to work. Big names, huge names. Nobody wants to work. Why would I go out there and be like, yeah, I'm losing tonight? I don't know.
Think about the number of people who had their wagon hitched to the Hogan train.
True.
Jimmy Hart.
Mm-hmm. Beefcake. Horace. Yep. Beefcake.
The Giant. Big time.
Oh, wow.
Brutus.
Okay. Yes.
Brutus.
Uh-huh.
All these guys. So I'm not giving Hogan a pass, but I'm saying when he says that don't work for me, he's saying I got to protect my brand and this squad too a little bit. Because if you bury him down the card, which can you really bury Hogan down the card?
No, never.
You can't.
No.
But I'm saying if you do, if you minimize his character, what does that do to all those people that depend on him?
Yes, I agree.
And to an extent, it weakens the whole black and white at the time. All of them.
That's why now that makes sense. But we go on the other side. We go on the Stanford side, the way more powerful side. A lot more money. No, I don't know.
Not at the time.
They were right. They were writing checks down there too. Ted Turner was writing checks like nothing, blank checkbooks. But a lot more guys. Duggan, Nasty Boys, Beefcake.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think I heard that even as far as Ming, if it hadn't been for Hogan vouching for him, probably wouldn't have gotten a job.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard so many guys dependent on Hogan just to get through the door up there or down there in Atlanta. So he had a whole squad leaning on him.
And that's crazy because this is after Ric Flair vouched for both of them, as in Macho Man and Hogan. Because he's the one that brought them both down there. That's crazy.
But I sometimes it bugs me that they get a pass and then Shawn gets just trashed. And I
can agree with that. I can, but it's just, I don't know, man. I think you gotta, I guess the ways they're looking at it is we're not talking about big names at this time. It's just Shawn, Bret, Diesel, fake Razor, Undertaker. That's it. Nobody else. So they're like, and then you got your writers, Jim Cornette's there, Jim Ross is there. They're creative. They don't want to deal with him. Like, man, but they know they have to because they don't have anybody. I think that is more to me on a personal level than business level. When we're talking about Hogan, it's more of a business level. It's talking about bringing major money in. We're talking about Shawn, like they were almost literally, I'm not saying they weren't bringing money in. They weren't getting eyes though. I was trying to turn the channel. Nitro hadn't really boosted yet, but it was starting. But I was trying to turn the channel. I watched it because we liked wrestling, but if you look back at it, it was corny. It was a lot of colors, a lot of just weird characters, just corny wrestling. And then you got your top guys. I'm like, how are we supposed to take this seriously when all there is Bret and Shawn and, and Diesel, and you got these guys you're making up for him. I mean, I liked Mabel. I mean, don't get me wrong, because I was younger, it just seemed like a cool bad guy character. But King Mabel, you're just bringing in anybody to face these characters, to face the Undertaker or to face. So you basically
go ahead.
I'm just saying you're painting into a wall when your top guys are acting like buttholes. You just got to let them act like buttholes. And I'm not saying just him. I'm not saying just him. Any of them.
I normally would agree with you, but I will throw this out there, and I do so wholeheartedly. If you think about it, in retrospect, 4 of the greatest matches ever on history of WWE, right? The 2 ladder matches, and the 2 matches with Bret. 2 matches with Bret and Shawn, and then let's throw Hell in a Cell there with the Undertaker and Shawn. So that's 5, or the casket match too, 6. So now we've got 6 the greatest matches of all time, and you've got the 2 guys that changed the whole business with Nash and Hall. I don't know that you can say that it was stale. Maybe the writing was stale. Maybe the fact that they were transitioning from big man sport to smaller man sport kind of took its toll and made viewers kind of get a little bit slow to come around. But I don't think you can say that it's necessarily they're at fault. I think that Shawn, Nash, and Hall changed the sport in a way that no one's ever going to. And during the period you just mentioned, the distinct period you mentioned, 93 to 96, right?
Okay,
93, 96.
96, but I mean,
what year was the first ladder match? 94, 93?
WrestleMania 10.
Whatever year that was. But I guess what I'm saying is you've got 5 or 6 of the greatest matches they even admit ever recorded, and all these guys are involved. And the catalyst that changed the whole wrestling business when Hall and Nash showed up on WCW.
And then they got lazy.
Who did? The
Hall and Nash.
Maybe they
I'm not saying that because I love the Outsiders, but
yeah.
I'm a realist and an adult like everybody else. They got lazy, and that's been the word. They all got lazy over there. They were getting paid. They only had to work once a week, a couple times a month. You know, I mean, there's no falsehood to that. It's the truth. They got lazy. Their work rate wasn't like it was in WWE. They were workhorses in WWE. Their matches were good. Their matches weren't good in WCW. I just love to see them, and I love their antics. That doesn't mean what you're watching as a product was good. It just means you like to see the shenanigans.
I think that's fair. I just think that I think it's selling them short, the statements that you were making earlier about how it seemed like you were saying that it was falling off and it wasn't interesting and all that other stuff. I think that people just weren't buying the image that WWE was portraying. I'm going to put that back on writing. I'm not going to put it on the stars being buttholes, because those stars put on some of the greatest matches ever made at that time.
I'm not saying they didn't. And I love, Scott Hall is one of my favorite wrestlers ever, but he got into some situations. It is writing a lot, but also, the landscape of the top tier, I was meaning WWF after Hall and Nash were gone, not prior. So we kind of got mixed up a little bit there. I was mentioning the product, and you were talking about Sean and getting all that slack. Because I wasn't really talking about Sean prior, before the clique broke up. I'm talking about after, really. So yeah, prior to them still being there, they were going out and they were still putting on great matches. Obviously, because a lot of them were working with each other, but then again, that shows you there was nobody else to work with there.
So the Hell in a Cell and the casket,
that's way later.
Those are all post Hall and Nash leaving.
Oh yeah, Hell in a Cell was 97.
Yep.
That was Bad Blood. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. You said what'd you say the other what other match?
The Iron Man match was 94, 93.
Oh, Iron Man match with Brett was WrestleMania 11, or no, so I'm sorry, 12, because WrestleMania 11 he wrestled Diesel. Then he won the Royal Rumble again and got to Brett. Yeah, all these are way down the line, though. That's what I'm saying. Like this stuff is spread out. Like now we're covering, like a 5-year span here.
Sure are. And I don't necessarily think that it fell off. I think that I know what you were saying about bright colors and a stale product, but I feel like that's all WCW was. I think it was just bright colors and loud production value, and then not a lot of delivery for me.
Well, it definitely was a lot. It was early on too. And then later they kept acquiring. And like I said, they weren't delivering too as far as grade A 4 and 5 star matches, unless you were watching Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio or Chris Jericho, or, just all the cruiserweights, because that's where the show shined. It's just people didn't have the interest because they weren't the big dogs. They weren't Lex Luger, Nash, Hall, Hogan, Goldberg, Sting. They weren't those guys. But those were all that first hour and that second hour is where the show shined as far as performance.
That definitely it has to come into note that those guys, and then Canyon and DDP and a few of those other guys on that undercard, that those first 2 hours, man, they were showing out when they got out there.
They were. They were. I don't take that away from anything. It's just,
Canyon gets enough credit for what he was doing at the time.
He doesn't. Even when he got to WWE, they talked about that.
I don't think he gets credit.
It could have been so much better. They could have ran that invasion so much better. Didn't utilize Kenyon and DDP because they were tag team for a while. A lot of things. Yeah, a lot of people talk about Kenyon, how good he was.
When he was Morris.
Yeah. So when you talk about, but wrestling is also for the most part has been about star power though, and people are going to turn channels and want to look at where the stars are. And when you only got a couple guys and they're grade A 5-star performers, a la Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, you got Undertaker as the quintessential character, but that's it. Then you can turn the channel, and then you got every wrestler that's been around and every wrestler that's been in every federation that has a big name, and they're all there at the same time. That's the one you're going to look at. That's just how it is. I don't know. Unless you're just a hardcore, which I know people like that. It's like, no, I never turned into WCW. I'm like, I don't know how you didn't, but you can't keep watching Bret and Shawn until, and you got people got to give it to Bret. Austin finally got his break. Those guys got to give it to Bret to help him push that catalyst and getting edgy. Bret did it prior to Shawn really doing it, getting edgy, because he had to get edgy with Austin. Shawn wasn't doing it yet. Bret got edgy with Austin, and that's what helped. That's what pushed that train for them to flip and Bret become the anti. That happened with Austin. Then Shawn followed suit. Not saying he copied off him. I'm just saying it happened organically. But Bret did that first, really, and that really helped them. Just granted, I think too little, too late.
I think when you say that, I think it kind of highlights control more than it does anything else, because that was Bret being himself, and then later on it was Shawn being himself and Austin being true to himself.
Yeah.
And while Bret was still in control before the screw job, Shawn couldn't have gotten away with that because he wasn't in control. After the screw job and after McMahon found his way to lean on him and trust him that he was going to do whatever it took for both of them, that's when Shawn got the trust and not Bret.
I don't even think he had enough time to get any trust, because Shawn was gone not long after Bret.
96 and 97, yeah, late 97.
Bret was gone in November 97. Shawn was gone in March of 98. So he didn't have long either.
It's funny that money. It's funny we bring up that period though, and oddly enough, one of the first WWE pay-per-views I had watched since like 91 or 92 was the Mike Tyson one with Shawn and Austin. And that got me back into WWF. And then I was hot and cold. I was still watching WCW. I'd watch any kind of wrestling as long as it was free. I'd wake up Saturday mornings to watch it when I was a kid. That's why I watched so much UWF and NWA. But what brought me back in was that rivalry and that Hell in a Cell match then with Undertaker and Mankind a little bit later. And then I always made sure I was on. I don't know why I liked it, but I loved the pop that the New Age Outlaws got. I don't think they're going to get enough credit for being as important as they were to keeping that brand alive when Shawn was gone and Triple H had no personality. It was terrible. Without Road Dogg on the mic and Billy Gunn selling, that's a dead group. But they were the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Well, that's why they recruited them though, because remember they were running. They were separate, put them together. They started clicking. They ran together for a while before they were even recruited to DX. They were already a tag team.
Yep.
And they were seeing like, oh man, these guys, we need those guys.
They were hot. They were hot. It was the loudest pop of the night every night, other than Austin.
Yeah.
And that's if Austin was even there other than to talk.
Yeah.
But they were a pop. And I made sure I stuck around to watch them. And that meant sometimes tuning out of the main event and seeing Sting end up in the middle of the ring and not do anything with a bat. Because there was too many nights of that. Just pointing it at people, that got old fast for me. And I was the biggest Sting fan in the world when I was a kid.
I mean, it
Surfer Sting, buddy. That was me.
Right. Yeah. He's just outnumbered. And you're like, well, what can he really do when he's outnumbered every Monday night?
Yeah. What's he going to do? Bring out Roddy Piper again to help him? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and Erica said it. They ran too much off of adrenaline ratings and the wow factor of the new, of the NWO and stuff, instead of really paying attention and really writing something. Don't get me wrong. Some of the, I don't know. I think we've had this conversation before, but I agree with Eric with what they said. Literally, one of the best stories in the history of wrestling is just the Sting. It's just Sting not wrestling.
It was
the whole year buildup of Sting, long growing his hair out. It's brown. Is he anti? Is he whatever? He's just up in the rafters. Next thing you know, he starts to paint his face. He's showing up his black. He doesn't speak on a mic for a year. Dude,
but he paints his face
how
black
hard
and white.
could that have been?
Yeah,
like you're a wrestler.
His face is black and white, so they start thinking he's going to be one of them.
Yeah,
remember?
True.
They were like, "Oh,
I agree. I'm sorry. I agree. I don't care if you know wrestling. There's no way in the world you don't say that that's one of the best storylines ever, where a wrestler just doesn't speak, doesn't do a wrestling move or anything for a year, but is constantly seen there and goes through a whole transformation for you to see it."
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's a better story than 95 squash matches in a row for Goldberg.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess on a different level. I mean, people want to see it. Yep. It worked. Yep. I can't knock it. I mean, we're talking 20 years later. I can't knock it. I mean, it worked.
No, it worked. But I'll tell you what, it worked with the Ultimate Warrior too. That's why they stole it, of course. But let's be clear. I don't think DDP gets enough respect for making him look like gold in that final match those two had. He made Goldberg look like he knew what he was doing and they could wrestle. Yeah. That was a high pass match. I remember that pay-per-view.
I would probably say that is Goldberg's best match, and DDP gave it to him. I agree. Halloween Havoc. I agree. I agree.
It wasn't as good as the stun gun though. Brandon was pretty upset.
That was Goldberg's idea too. He said he wanted real stun gun. He said, if you're going to stun me, use a real one.
Nash eats a lot of crap over that. And I told you that the other day over text, and they were like, "Oh, you just wanted the belt." He's like, "If I wanted the belt so bad, why did I let somebody just touch me and give it away 2 nights later?"
That's true.
What? Yeah, 2 nights later. He's like, "You got to stop." He's like, "That wasn't." I actually like his candor because I don't think anybody gave him a chance to explain himself. They just think he's some big egotistical prick. And I think down inside, he was actually protecting the business. And they had to get the belt back on Hogan. Ratings were going through the floor.
They did.
No one wants to see Goldberg come out and squash everybody for the title every week.
Yeah.
No one. And they had to get the title back on Hogan and create some new interest. And it was too little, too late.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was too late.
Scott Hall's the referee. Anyway. We watched that together eating Jack's Pizza, buddy.
Yes, we did. I was telling Braylon.
We each had our own.
We started buying WCW pay-per-views and eating Jack's Pizza. That's what we did.
We each had our own 2-liter.
Halloween Havoc, Starrcade for sure. Definitely Starrcade 98, without a doubt. We know that for sure. But I said, I was telling him that. We got War Games 3. That's how Nash got to the Starrcade 98. We bought that War Games 3 98 when he won it in the 3 rings. Interesting times. Yeah, they just got the money spoke too much, man. And that's one thing when you don't have, I think somebody said, when you don't have Vince in control. Yeah. That's what happens.
It'd be interesting. We should probably convene later and talk about the greatest Jordans in professional wrestling. Because we could certainly.
I got 3 guys off the top of my head. That's the only 3 I have, really.
Shane, Nash, and Luger?
No. Kurt, Nash, and Luger.
Kurt wore them sometimes. Kurt wore
Oh,
like
Shane. Shane's definitely number one.
Yeah.
Take that back. Shane's number one, but no, Kurt and then Nash Luger too. Kurt wore those 6s. They always stand out to me. That whole year, the whole year in 92, he wore those 6s. Well, 91 into 92, he wore those 6s.
Shane takes the cake.
Shane takes the cake. It's not even a comparison. And then
Luger always had some Jordans. Nash was a basketball player, so he was in on the Jordans.
They were both wearing those black and red 13s.
They were.
Yeah.
He was pointing at them on the screen too.
Yeah.
We have to I wonder, because Cena always wore Reeboks, didn't he? Pumps.
I don't know what. Yes. Yeah.
The Reebok pumps. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. But that's how we tie all this back together and put a bow on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.